All right. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Fir Ek Bar Modi Sarkar. I am Sandeep Balakrishna and am joined as usual by Mr. Vijay Chada, one of India's most level-headed political commentators, news observers and analysts who describes himself as a news junkie. Hello Vijay and welcome back. Raise your hand again. All right. So while we filed this series under Firik Bar Modi Sarkar, this week it's Zara Hatke, so a little different in the sense that, we all know that our beloved former Prime Minister, one of India's best Prime Ministers, Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, just passed away. And, to offer a tribute, we have dedicated this week's episode to Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Uh, Personally, I can describe Vajpayee ji as a poet, statesman, and a prime minister. And in many ways, Mr. Vajpayee was the foundational prime minister of India. Uh, it was a life lived with all the hard work, a great legacy of splendid oratory, organizational skills, tireless work, and a real proper vision for rebuilding India. And in my personal view, we got political freedom in 1947, but the task of rebuilding India had to perhaps wait till Mr. Vajpayee actually got a proper stable government, although it was a coalition government in 1999. It could be argued that in a different way, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao was also a very towering Prime Minister of India, the right Prime Minister in the wrong party, if I can describe that. But why Mr. Vajpayee becomes important is that in many ways, he not only headed the first non-dynastic, non-Congress government that India ever had, a legacy that is continued by the current Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. Not only just that, but in many ways, he laid the foundation stone for a truly Congress Mukt Bharat, which was a slogan coined during Mr. Modi's campaign. So that will be the subject of this episode. Vijay, when I mention the name Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Atalji's name itself, you will always remember his famous speech from the coast of Mumbai. Andhera
Yes,
chatega,
yes.
suraj ugega,
Hmm,
kamal khilega.
hmm,
So people who were born in 70s and all, I think that was one of the most defining speech of Atalji. And
indeed.
then even in spite of losing the 84 election,
Hmm.
how the party grew by leaps and bounds from 89 onwards till now. It's still growing.
It's still growing, that's right.
It's still growing.
Yeah.
So you will come to know of the phenomenal work that has been done over a long period of time,
Hmm.
and whatever enduring images earlier of Atalji we may have had, but during his funeral, when his body was being taken on the road from BJP party office all the way to Rashtriya Smriti Sthal,
Hmm.
it was so proud that you could see the Prime Minister, the party president, many
Hmm.
chief ministers of BJP
Hmm.
governed states,
Mhm.
and various ministers walking behind the cortege, all through the 3.5 to 4 kilometers distance. It shows that a man who has given that famous speech in Mumbai in 80,
Mhm.
in a span of 38 years, uh, what a huge tree he has created across
Absolutely.
the country.
Fantastic. I actually call him in my, I don't know if you read my tribute piece to him a day after he passed away. I called it, a hero of India's second independence struggle.
And also, it's very, you can say it is poetic justice, whatever we may call.
Hmm.
So, folks used to say that 21st century is going to be India.
Hmm.
And at the turn of the 21st century, it was none other than Vajpayee ji who was the prime minister of this country, who was leading us into the century.
Fantastic observation.
Uh, so, uh, so when future generations, sometime when we hit the 100 years mark of India's independence,
Hmm.
when they look back, so they would definitely look at Vajpayee ji's tenure as one of the turning points in Indian history. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, seriously, there's no doubt about it. But all that is still said, and well, I mean, it was not unexpected. But our secular friends, they say he's a good man, but Babri Masjid, all this Afghanization. I mean, what kind of a mentality has been created in this country by successive Congress rule is that's a perfect reflection. The way in which all these what you call op-ed writers,
Yeah, yeah.
the way they behaved, the kind of fear poison that they were spewing.
Earlier days they used to say they used to call him the right man in the wrong party.
Correct.
But 2 days ago, I think I have read an article somewhere online which
Mhm.
says that he is the best prime minister Congress never had. So you can understand what so and that was written, if I'm not mistaken, by some some guy who's the
Yeah,
regular op-ed writer of
yeah,
Congress.
one of our secular op-ed writer of Congress is a good one.
So I feel that
Hmm.
that could not there could not be a better tribute to the man than that.
I think so too. So, if we, briefly talk about his political legacy between 99 and 2004, just earlier before one term earlier, if you want to call it a term, I mean, he lasted some 8 months or something. Kargil comes to mind first, and then followed by his fantastic rule in 99 and 2004. So, between this 98 and 2004, 6 years of Mr. Vajpayee being PM, how would you quickly sum up his legacy?
How can you sum up? We can't sum it up quickly, definitely.
Okay, take
Uh,
your time.
yeah. So there was huge changes that have happened, and there were a lot of challenges during that period.
Mhm.
So the first set of economic liberalization has happened, and during Narasimha's time, and
Mhm.
then we had a 13-day government of Vajpayee,
Yeah.
followed by uh, Gujarat, no, Devegowda ji, and then I.K. Gujarat. And then we had again
Mm.
uh,
Vajpayee ji.
Vajpayee ji has come into the picture. So it was always like it was very trying times. If we really look at the 90s, if you look at 90s, one, the proxy war was at the highest
Mm.
in J&K. Worldwide economic situation was not that good. Particularly, there was an Asian economic crisis
Mhm.
during the 97-98 period.
Yeah, we had to fly out gold and all that.
No, that was in 91,
90.
but 97 was the Asian economic crisis,
Oh,
which,
Asian economic, I'm sorry.
yeah, Asian economic crisis was there. So worldwide economy was almost like in doom. And then after he took oath as the prime minister in 98, the first thing that what people did not expect him to do was to do the nuclear test,
Pokhran.
Pokhran.
Mm.
And that really, the foreigners did not expect it,
Mm-hmm.
that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then sanctions were put on the country.
I remember.
And yeah, and that was the surprising thing at that point of time. Very, very small countries. I mean, economically they may be good, but people who never used to remember that Finland or Denmark or some countries, they said that no, we are taking back our aid, and also it was a very funny thing for me to
It
read
was
in
quite,
newspapers
quite hilarious. Yeah, yeah, I
at
know.
that particular point of time in '98.
Mm.
So when we look back, That's the first time you realize that even after around 40 years or 50 years of independence,
Mm.
we were still getting aid from those sort of
Those small
countries.
states, correct.
Yeah. So, and that's when the sanctions hit the country very hard, and they came up with this resurgent India bond,
Correct.
which really tapped into the patriotism of all many of the Indians who are residing abroad, and they raised almost $1 billion to overcome those sanctions. So the stupendous success of that particular Resurgent India bond gave a confidence of the Indians residing abroad as well as to the Indians here
Mhm.
that we can overcome, and we did overcome many of the challenges
We
that
did
we.
actually. Then the sanctions, they were supposed to have been levied for indefinite period of time, and then they, that famous visit of I think Bill Clinton or one of those guys came to
uh,
India, and then it was reversed in less than 2 years, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah. Even on the Pokhran test, many folks actually compare it with Indiraji's
Mm.
test
Mm.
in '74.
Mm.
But that was at that night in '74. We did not call it a weapons test. Actually,
Yeah.
we did. It was called a peaceful nuclear explosion, which was PNE, and we said that we did it for our peaceful purposes. But if you actually go and watch the speech, that was the first time we said this: we are a nuclear weapon state. Basically, we crossed the Rubicon, and
Mm.
he said that the Prime Minister Atalji at that time he has made an announcement in the evening that we are a nuclear weapon state, and then we are not going to use these weapons for the first. We are not going to
Yeah.
use it for
First use, no first use
no
doctrine.
first use policy is what
Policy.
we
Yeah.
came up with at that particular point of time.
Hmm. Hmm.
Also, why this Pokhran is quite important was during that period, US was US and many of these countries were pressing us to sign CTBT
CTBT, NPT.
and many of these things. They were forcing us, and
Mm.
which also means that when if we had to sign CTBT,
Mm.
we it would have meant that we would give up testing of nuclear weapons
Yeah.
at that. So
Especially weakening ourselves. No.
there was a huge pressure. I remember during that time, if I'm not mistaken, Arundhati Ghosh really
Arundhati
gave a
Roy.
solid speech. Yeah, I remember that. It was a fantastic speech that she has given at the
Yeah.
that conference. But surprisingly, if we now look at 20 years later in 2018, most of these regimes
Hmm.
actually, which were put in place so just to ensure that India doesn't get nuclear weapons, whether it was MCTR, whether it is Weimar Agreement, all these things. We are actually now we officially we are part of many of those
Yeah,
treaties.
yeah. Those were treaties and
Yeah,
pacts. Correct.
except I think NPT is the only thing that it is pending, if I'm not mistaken. But which NSG, which is basically the nuclear suppliers group.
Mm.
Once we are part of it, that means we are part of the whole global order of this nuclear commerce and
Mhm.
group. So it took 2 decades for us to do it, but
But we
still
did it. But we
we
did
did.
it under Mr. Vajpayee.
But
And then, speaking of the other big thing, I think we've discussed this in a couple of episodes before this one about another dream project of Mr. Vajpayee, that's Golden Quadrilateral.
You name it, Golden Quadrant and Pradhan Mantri Gramin Sadak Yojana.
Gramin Sadak Yojana.
Both of them
I
were
think the
really
phenomenal successes and the other tragedy is that, if any of these so-called advanced nations do whatever, some breakthrough or whatever, they have an entire team in the United Nations which write hundreds of thousands of case studies, and they shoot documentaries of all these achievements. I mean, which is good, but why? I maybe it's my ignorance. Maybe I'm not well read enough. But as far as I have seen, there has been no single case study of the phenomenal success of something like Golden Quadrilateral, or for that matter, even the telecom revolution and the internet revolution in India. I think it is an indirect or maybe even a direct consequence that you and I are speaking like this here,
Yeah. Uh,
but due to the reforms of Mr. Vajpayee.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I mean, because you have I'll come to that case studies and all later. So
Hmm,
another underreported thing was of the telecom changes that he has made actually.
precisely.
So 95 was when in the cellular revolution took off in India,
Hmm,
but that was mostly in four metros and all, and many companies bid heavily for license terms and all.
hmm,
And by 98 also, we have almost reached again a point where uh, the the rates used to be quite high. 24 rupees to 25, 26 rupees per
that's right.
minute used
Per
to be
minute.
the call rate.
Hmm,
And then people and the companies were not in a position to make money out of the telecom. That's one. And then they were unable to pay the license fees.
hmm.
Uh, so that's when it was coming to almost like a jam sort of situation.
Yeah, the
Where
city
that's when
license Raj regime, there was a fear
uh,
that it would return.
so that's when we moved slowly to a, a revenue share
Hmm,
sort of an agreement, and that's when you have seen that the prices started declining quite
hmm,
rapidly, and by the last year of his uh, term of Vajpayee's term, 2000 by 2004, they have almost come to a stage where it was supposed to be policies were all approved by TDSAT and all
hmm.
try, if I'm not mistaken, that it will be they'll be moving to a calling party based regime, which was more
Correct.
or less
PPP. Yeah.
yeah. So which was nothing less that your incoming calls would be free. So
Free.
you just imagine how they have traversed in the 6 years. That is one. And on international calling, the monopoly of Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited was
It was broken. Yes.
broken. Then many folks will not remember, but BSNL was corporatized.
It
Uh,
was for the first time. Yes.
yeah, it was corporatized in spite of folks saying that they will strike and all, but he was very clear that it should be corporatized. So that was the telecoms part of it. And then 2003, they have come out with the transformation in electricity. Change was made in the Electricity Act, which was basically of allowing split of electricity into generation, transmission, and distribution.
Hmm,
So if you see many of the companies, many states today have different companies for generation, different companies for transmission, and different companies for distribution.
correct.
So that which really helped after this government has continued, Modi ji's government has continued doing further reforms there, which through using that Uday and all those things, where in less than a year or two, we will have 24/7 electricity across the country.
At every household.
Yes, at every house.
The other thing we need to talk about, I think, is a lot of people might have forgotten, but the occasion is proper. That's why it's relevant. That's why I bring it up about Mr. Vajpayee's dream team. You had, really superb ministers, technocrats like Suresh Prabhu, who's still there anyway. And then you had, of course, Arun Shavi and BC Khanduri, Nitin Gadkari. Um,
No, Gadkari ji was not there.
Gadkari was there?
No, no, he was not minister.
Okay.
Khanduri ji was the
Arun
minister.
Khanduri, yeah.
He was the road and highways minister at the time.
So, a comparison of sorts can be made to Vajpayee's dream team and the team that Mr. Modi has. So, how would you evaluate these two aspects?
It's quite interesting because at that particular point of time, Yashwant Sinha, Jaswant Singh,
Hmm.
L.K. Advani,
Even George Fernandez.
George Fernandez ji, Nitish Kumar ji for some time, even
Really,
Mamata
yes.
Banerjee was a minister.
Hmm.
So they were actually the senior ministers. They were part of CCS and all. I mean, at least
Correct.
Advani ji, Jaswant Singh, Yashwant Sinha, and all. And but at that time, Sushma Swaraj ji, okay, then Arun Jaitley ji, they were all like junior ministers.
Junior ministers, yes. Yes.
So now see, so they became part of cabinet committee of security now,
Hmm.
and those leaders have some are there, some are not in a position.
Mhm.
But it is man to man. Talent is good. There is no difference in that sense. We cannot say things at that particular point of time. That was the talent available. They were
No, but it was some serious good talent, Vijay.
even now
It was
also it
very
is
good.
good talent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So talent, but see that is the advantage of BJP.
Hmm.
Talent is there.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Good talent is there actually.
Because the power reforms you mentioned was spearheaded by
Suresh
Suresh
Prabhu,
Prabhuji,
yeah, Suresh, electricity minister,
electricity minister.
power minister at that time, and then he
Absolutely.
was also an environment minister at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you were talking about case studies.
Huh. So case studies, I mean, it may be in some professional colleges in during education. I don't know things whether things have come out, whether there were studies that were made proper studies. There should be some studies definitely, but as you said, the importance and the impact of the
Because
golden quadrilateral.
these are transformational changes, and
Mm,
but for these changes, Congress wouldn't have had such a smooth run in its first term,
mm,
and then capitalize on
yeah,
what NDA one had done,
yeah.
and then secured some 206 seats.
No, no, that was in UPA two times.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why I'm saying this is so. This needs to be widely publicized.
Yeah. No, and UPI themselves have actually gone into court and in one of the affidavits they have mentioned that NDA government during Atalji's time had actually constructed 50% of the highways that were there in the country till that point of time.
Okay.
So it was like 50, so that's a huge thing.
Hmm. For them
Uh,
to admit that, it's a huge thing. Yes.
yeah. So the government had admitted that.
Hmm.
Another interesting thing, which again, which folks would not have forgotten or the special economic zone policy also actually came
Came
during
during his time. Yes, I think it was
during
called
the
something else
no,
back
no, no.
then.
It used to be
It's
STPI,
SEZ
but
only. Okay.
then STPIs used to be there earlier. But special economic zones when Mursoli Maran was the commerce
Hmm.
minister.
Hmm.
Yeah, so at that particular point of time, the government came up with the SEZ policy and then carried forward. So
Hmm.
many of the special economic zones that we see today are basically
They were
the
seeded in that era, is what you're
seeded
saying.
in that year.
Right.
And also during the 56th Independence Day speech, if I'm not 56th year of Independence Day speech, that's when Vajpayee ji has announced like we will send a mission to the moon, which
To the moon.
finally turned out to be
Finally,
Chandrayaan 1.
yeah, yeah.
So, so that was like how Modi ji has announced the manned space mission 2022. So
2022, correct.
it
So the
was there
legacy is,
done.
yeah, right. And so much for Mr. Vajpayee's political legacy and his legacy of good governance. Uh, could we share a few thoughts on Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee as a organization builder, because it's not easy to constantly be in the opposition for what, more than 40 years, perhaps ever since Janasangh was formed, and then so late in life to finally see his party becoming, capturing power.
Yeah, organizationally he was good, but he was also assisted by Advani ji.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
No,
have,
you can
yeah.
yeah, you
So
cannot
it
you
is
can't
just not
take this
Vajpayee
one.
ji.
Yeah.
It was Vajpayee ji and Advani ji. It's a together, and also we forget Rajmata.
Rajmatan. Hmm.
So I mean, they were the Trinity, and they did that organization building. It was for them. It was more like a tapas. It was like a
It comes from the deep Sanatana values,
yeah,
is what I
yeah,
call,
yeah.
because you
Uh,
can't separate that from them.
Yeah. And to build, see, there were regional parties that were formed. There were still parties that are still remain regional. But
Correct.
just to create a party across the country, which is in such a dominating position. So a party that was not even there in 1980s.
Correct.
Okay. to almost becoming the new pole in politics, Indian politics, in a span of. I mean, I have seen that. I mean, party being created
Formed.
and
Yeah,
reaching the stage.
yeah.
So it is a rarity to see it in a lifetime. So
In the same lifetime, yeah, it's
yeah,
quite an emotional
yeah.
moment. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So in that sense, you can make out, right? As I said, organizationally, that's what it is. So
Hmm,
all the fruits of labor you
hmm,
can see in front of your own eyes.
exactly. So, so I think it's been a bird's eye overview. I don't think there is anything much left to add. You have
No, no, there are two, three things actually.
go
We,
ahead.
we still forgot. Again, this is something which the impact on this country will be felt from 2040 or at the earliest 2039 or 38. But 2040 is, we can say, onwards, because one of the lesser known facts and very successful implementation was the launch of NPS, National Pension Scheme
Hmm.
for government employees. So it was launched without much fanfare,
Yes, it was
very
very
surprising,
very
and
low key fashion. Yes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then but at the pension burden on the country's finances would be very. It will be reduced from 2040 onwards,
Hmm.
because people would have moved into NPS by that time, and NPS that has been started in 2004 as of now. Last I remembered was it has a corpus of around 100,000 crores, which is quite
That's
a
a
huge
lot of
amount,
money.
and which will be increasing, right? I mean, because it is for all the new government employees who have joined in
Hmm.
2000 from 2004 onwards. They have moved to NPS. So that implication we will see. I mean, see, that's how he thought long term, in a sense that 30, 40 years down the line, where the impact will be felt on countries' finance. He has done that.
Well,
And
this is nation building only, Vijay.
yeah,
Nothing else. This is nation building.
yeah. And then very successfully, the Delimitation Act was passed during his period.
Correct. And not to
So,
mention the splitting up of Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh and
yeah,
Bihar.
the three new states that have been formed: Uttarakhand, Jharkhand.
Zero controversy with zero noise. Nobody even knew.
Hmm.
I mean, that is statesmanship, some really fine statesmanship.
Yeah.
So, what has changed between then and now? Yeah, all these regional guys are, just going after Mr. Modi's throat day in and day out. Is it because BJP has emerged as a, absolute kind of nationwide champion on the political stage? Or is it that they just hate Mr. Modi blindly? Or is it,
Both. Actually, it's both.
it's both?
One, the party has spread its wings
Hmm.
across the country, and also Modi,
Hmm.
definitely.
Hmm.
They see that he is as hard a taskmaster, as
Hmm.
non-corrupt as he
Hmm.
can expect a person to be. So definitely do that.
So I guess their dream would be, or rather, they thought that Modi would be like another Atalji. Yeah.
Definitely.
There's also the argument that that got work done, right? If you were like uh, Vajpayee ji, you
Yeah.
got work done for the BJP
He's following the same footstep
in a
of
different way.
yeah, different way. There's no, because he is also doing nation building, right?
Yeah.
So there's no
Hmm.
other option. And the biggest uh, what I call it as proof that he was is able to provide to the country was till Vajpayee ji uh, called for elections in 2004.
Hmm.
Uh, the governments were not coalition government, non-Congress coalition governments, or non-Congress government itself
Hmm.
did not complete their term ever.
Absolutely.
So the 99 to 2004 was more or less a non-Congress coalition government, which was there for
Which
the full term.
completed its term, yeah.
So, I mean, though I technically did not complete the full 5 years because the elections were
because
brought
they
forward
called early elections.
earlier elections.
Mm.
So that's the proof that he has provided that there can be a non-Congress government which
Correct.
can
And which
provide
can
you,
complete its term properly.
which can complete its term, it can uh, do better than what Congress was doing. So he has
Mhm.
proved it. And now we are
Absolutely.
seeing the same thing being followed by Modi ji also. So there's
So
no.
that I think you have covered almost everything there, but the last topic, it's although it's a little painful, the 2004 unexpected loss uh, for Mr. Vajpayee. Fine, I mean it's as if India Shining campaign was the only reason why BJP lost, and that is a common fiction or a common reason that is going around even today.
No, I mean, what can you say? India Shining was not the
So
real.
not the only reason, but to that extent we can say.
2004 was a different
Hmm.
ball game altogether. If people remember properly, uh, many of the writers who were writing and singing Gungan of Atalji today,
Hmm.
many have hounded him through their writings and articles,
No, almost on a
editor
daily basis now.
on a daily basis. That's one. It is the same, what you call, it is the same modus operandi, what they are following with Modi ji.
And more or less the
Also.
same gang.
Yeah, it is the same game. So I'll give you examples now how it has happened. Immediately after the Pokhran test, everyone opposed it. In a sense that there were letter writers who have written open letter. Why
Like the
you
same
did
thing they're doing today.
it? Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it is actually the same people. It's
Same
not
people
even
also.
different.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, some people may have been dead by now, but that's a
yeah.
different issue. But
Ruffle been very dead.
it is almost the same time, same folks. Okay,
Hmm.
uh, 2004 when the economy started picking up, uh, Congress actually started saying, "Where are the jobs?
Hmm.
Jobs needed." The same thing they are doing today also.
Today also.
Where are the jobs? Okay. So you and then intolerance. How can you
Hmm.
forget the Jhabua,
Hmm.
Graham Stains, or the various church blasts in Karnataka, which was
Hmm.
actually carried out by Anjuman sect, some
Hmm.
Anjuman sect.
Hmm. Some jihadi outfit, yeah.
Uh, so think about it. It is the same set of people, same modus operandi. The difference was very simple. At that time, there was no social media. Today, there is social media where people are countering the lies that are being spread by these folks.
Mhm.
That's all. Okay. In those days, there was no way. Even if suppose as you and me, we may be
Hmm.
supporters, but how there was no way we could even connect with each other. There was no social media. We did not know each other. But 2004 also acted as a quite a wake up call for many of the supporters
Hmm.
who thought that Arey, Vajpayee ji anyway will win the election. So
So that
they sat at home.
complacency, I think, the
Even
complacency had set in.
many folks would have sat at home.
Correct.
That's a different issue.
Hmm.
But now, even if 19 election, it is always important that the supporters are reminded every time of 2004 that it should not repeat in 19. Because,
Absolutely. Very well
yeah,
said.
no,
Very
no,
well said.
see, it is very, you will be surprised to own a house in the 90s. To get a loan, it was so difficult. Housing loans were very difficult to get,
Absolutely. Very expensive
and the entire what you call the interest rates used to be so high.
mhm.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know. It was 30. That 13% has actually fallen down to
8%.
8% or 7.5%.
7.6%, 7.4, 8%.
Okay, inflation was controlled at that particular
Inflation
point.
is. Hmm.
Okay, now even today it is the same thing. Your
Hmm.
inflation is very well under control. Your fiscal deficits are completely under control. Your interest rates are between 8.75 to
Hmm.
8.85% housing loan interest. What more? I mean, if you see that, uh, you are almost exactly as good in a situation currently as you were in 2003, 2004.
Absolutely.
So it will be. I mean, this is something which everyone needs to
No, I
realize that.
think this message needs to be, disseminated constantly because, the other side doesn't have any moral right or, any moral principle to even counter what, back then what Mr. Vajpayee did or now, right now what Mr. Modi is doing.
Yeah, it's actually
So that's a game of complete destruction. It is a race to the bottom.
yeah, it's very interesting. See, I'll share two things.
Mm.
When the film was going on, I was watching it on Doordarshan. The crowd, commentators were actually mentioning the crowd were aged between 15 to 40, main majority of the
Wow.
crowd.
Wow.
So if
Mm.
15, if a person who is like 15, he would have just been
He would
one
have been
year
born
with
after
Vajpayee.
yeah, he would
What?
have been born after 2000
Yeah.
millennium. Yeah.
So that means it means that it has message has gone even to that generation that what Vajpayee has done. That's one.
Hmm.
My mom was watching the film. She said
Okay.
made a very interesting statement.
Mm.
She said she's like 70, she's in mid 70s.
Okay.
So she made a very good statement. She said today's generation will also come to know what Vajpayee has done. Even if it was 10 years was the period where UPA 1 and
Mm.
UPA 2 almost tried to take away all the
Yeah, erase his legacy.
good work that has been done, erase the good work that has been done by Atalji.
Mm.
But the people were forced to actually explain to what Atalji has actually done.
It's a good observation indeed.
So,
Yeah.
so, so what you can say? So it's like that. In a way, it is. We should remind ourselves and the BJP supporters. They should remind themselves that
Mm.
you may have issues with on any topic, but finally, 19 people should go out, and it should be a. We should not repeat the mistake of what has happened in 2004.
No,
And
no,
again,
2004 should never be repeated. I'll put this on loop and play, have it as my ringtone or something. Don't repeat 2004. Don't repeat 2004. Don't repeat. All right. I think on that note we can close, Vijay. Or do you have anything else to add?
yes,
Go ahead.
I would, I would definitely. Because this is Atalji's topic is such a.
Fair enough. So,
I will just take two, three.
just the moment you say, okay, we are done, Sandeep, then that is when I'll issue the closing statement.
Yeah.
Go on.
We also need to understand two major things that were done. School Chale Hum, the literacy mission that was done,
Hmm.
6 to 14.
Hmm.
It was again during Vajpayee, Atalji's
Vajpayee
time.
time. Correct.
Murli Manohar Joshi ji was the HRD
Charity
minister.
minister.
Yeah, and it was a phenomenal success. The literacy rate that you have seen post in that decade, post Vajpayee ji's time, in the census, were really the steps that were taken during that period of time,
Atalji's time.
Atalji's time. And then we had her higher education. The loans were provided at a concessional rate
Mm-hmm.
for MBA or for your masters anywhere without collateral and all.
Mm-hmm.
I know it personally because for my brother's education, we went to the bank. I did not have any collateral.
Mm-hmm.
They just went, they gave, because I showed the RBI rules and notification. So that really helped many people to get educated. Folks
Mm-hmm.
do not know it. At that particular point of time, it was big achievement. Then Kisan credit cards
Mm-hmm.
were announced. As of today, I don't even know how many crores of Kisan credit cards are available given to the farmers. So, you see, there was huge. I mean, changes that he has done spread across the entire spectrum, which impacted everyone of this country. It's the same thing that is happening now too. So
Mm-hmm.
we are just continuing. See,
We're
that
just continuing that legacy.
yeah,
I think in one
and
of the earlier
yeah,
episodes you mentioned this
yeah,
point.
yeah. So these are some of the things that were there, and one of my personal
Mm-hmm.
remembrance of Atalji is always completely. I am I was influenced by him. and then
Mm-hmm.
took up the flag
Mm-hmm.
from
Okay.
1988
Oh,
and,
okay. You're a veteran man
and campaign.
and campaign.
And campaign. Yeah. Going for vote for BJP and also. So it was a very interesting thing. You can never,
Good times.
yeah. I just hope that we win 19. That's it. As a tribute to Atalji.
I
That
think we should come back
please,
with a, we
yeah,
should come
please,
back with a bigger majority. I see your
and please,
Twitter
and please
poster now.
forget. And folks who have not voted in 2004, they will say that this is a tribute to Atalji. And
Yeah,
please forgive my mistakes. That's what the people should say and vote for BJP. That's it.
totally.
I am
Great
done. Thank you.
message. Great message.
Oh,
All right. So you have anything else to say? This is your last chance.
no, done. Please.
Done. Okay. All right. So on that happy note, we come to a close of this edition of Fir Ek Baar Modi Sarkar. This is Sandeep Balakrishna signing off. And huge thanks of gratitude to Vijay as always. We do this every week. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments box. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Vijay.